Welcome back to Giggle and Grow with Courtney
and Morgan.
We're so happy to be back, guys, in our studio. It feels like a blessing, and I'm so excited to be here with Morgan. How are you feeling about it, Morgan?
I am so excited. It feels kind of surreal. It's been quite a while since we've been back in the studio. We had a lot of things going on this summer, and I think it's actually been since July or August that we've been here. So
I know it's been too long, but I'm glad we're back, and you know, we're focusing on being more real with you guys and showing more real content. And one of the things that we wanted to make sure we're doing is getting back in the studio a little bit more to hopefully feel that realness in our podcasts. But yeah, so how's your week been, Morgan?
It's been kind of an emotional roller coaster. I think I texted you earlier this week and I was like, I just don't know what's going on. I think I've allowed myself to just kind of hit that breaking point once again. And not that I think it was good for me. It wasn't like anything bad. It was just a lot of an overwhelming feeling more so.
Yeah, and for anybody out there starting a business, you know how it feels when you're starting a business, doing your own thing, and constantly trying to keep up with social media and keep up with the trends while having a full-time job. The people that can do both, typically I'm like, they don't sleep because it's a lot. And I think sometimes what we have to do is we have to remember that we're only human and we're not AI yet. We're not using AI completely. Or if you are, it's very expensive. And so just reminding ourselves that like it's okay to take breaks and it's okay to not feel like you're accomplishing something even when you are. But you have to remind yourself in those moments that you know, you are accomplishing something and you are moving a step forward and closer to where you want to be. And I think that was something that I tried to remind you of this week is just, hey, you're getting closer. Make sure you recognize that.
I think it is very easy as a business owner, or even just as a normal human in general, to realize all the good and the things that you actually do in a week's time or even a month's time. I mean, it's easy to be like, no, I didn't do this again, or I didn't get that done, or I pushed it off another week. But think back to what you actually did do. And I'm sure when you do realize that or what you did, it's a lot more. And there is so much to be grateful for when you focus on the good things rather than the bad. I mean, on this journey of being a small business owner, it's really been a focus of trying to balance being a wife while also being that full-time worker and being strong in my position while also being able to balance that social media, balance that social time with friends even, and balancing the back end work, which is almost more overwhelming than anything else because I never know exactly if I'm doing the right thing or what I should be doing or putting my time towards. And I almost paralyze myself in the moment of doing it because it really does feel like a lot. But like you reminded me, realizing what I actually accomplished is getting me so much further than worrying about what I didn't accomplish.
Yeah, and you've done so much. You've gotten so much better with posting and how you're posting. And I think that when you're a new small creator and you're still learning, I mean, we've been doing this for a year now, which is crazy. But when you're a small creator, you forget the times that, you know, you forget like what it used to be compared to where you are now. You just see what you want to be. You see, oh, well, Alex Earl's out here and she can do all of this in 5 seconds and that's where I should be. And you just have to remind yourself that you're on your own journey and that maybe, you know, I'm Courtney. Mine is Courtney Sagan. Like I am learning to post stuff at my own pace and I'm learning to grow my brand at my own pace. And that's a big reason why I love this podcast is because we've been doing it for a year consistently now, but there have been ups and downs and there have been different ways that we've learned how to post. There have been different ways that we've learned how to, you know, organize our photos and just the small little things that are on the back end of it that we have to do in order to be successful in marketing. There are things that we couldn't do that we can now do. And so I try to remind myself, hey, like it wasn't perfect this week, but you did this.
Right. My husband even told me too, he's like, Morgan, could you have imagined yourself 2 years ago being the person that created your website and started the Etsy page and said yes to doing a podcast with your best friend? And like you said, learning all that back end stuff. I mean, Repurpose.io, Stan Store, Etsy once again. We've learned also how to use YouTube a little bit more and how to use
CapCut.
Yes, there we go. I mean, those are things that I would have never saw myself using, like I said, 2 years ago. And the fact that we have made the effort to do that, I mean, that's a huge win in itself.
Yeah, I agree. And I think one of the things I like to remind small creators is that you don't have to, and I remind myself this as well, you don't have to be 100,000 followers. You just have to be who you are, and you have to be authentic in yourself. And then the followers will come. And it's so funny. I don't know if this is too biblical, but I always would think, they say, Jesus had 7 followers, and so could you imagine if he met somebody today who has 1 million followers, where you're just like, wow, I had 7 and you have millions, but now he has millions of followers, right? So it took him time. So just like it's going to take us time, I think, to remind yourself that time is the one, it heals all wounds, is what I always say. And 2, it teaches you things. One of the biggest things that was important for me was when I started losing weight. I've lost about 10 pounds, and I'm doing this for my wedding. I got a personal trainer. I did all the things. I really felt like this personal trainer has helped me hold myself accountable. Well, one of the biggest things that did it for me was I am so hard on myself, and I only see myself in the moment. And so when I looked at my progress photos, that was when it clicked in my mind. And I was like, holy crap. After I saw my progress photos of 10 pounds, I literally was able to then see it in the mirror. And literally the same exact morning, I saw myself in the mirror, and I saw myself differently than after seeing the progress photos. So one of the things that I think we should challenge ourselves to do is start taking screenshots of our followers, or start taking screenshots of where we were and how things looked. And then we look at it today, and you kind of compare to where you were and where you've come from. And I think your mind can actually start to see the difference.
Oh, definitely. I mean, I as you were talking, I was kind of thinking about all the glimmers that we see online, and how, again, you see someone at those 1 million followers, or you see someone with the pounds that they've lost, right? But you don't often see that journey of them getting there. And so I think that's a really great idea, Courtney, is more so kind of backtracking and more so taking those screenshots that you had mentioned and seeing that success that you've created over that time. Because again, as we've been stressing about the things that we want to accomplish now, we've already accomplished so much. And so to see that track, we really have come so far we've been doing this for a year. The fact that we've even been doing this for a year, to me, still blows my mind, because I never even thought that I would be that girly that's doing a podcast and loving it and still having fun with it. Yeah, I think sometimes it can feel like a third job, and that's okay, because I love to do this, and I love to talk to people, and I love to put out positivity out there, because I really think that even if it's one person who's going through something really small, when they see our post, hopefully that they can come out of that and they can actually say, oh, they're walking in the light now. Maybe I can start thinking a little bit more positively, or maybe they can trigger something in their mind. And I think that that's why we do it. Absolutely. I hope that our podcast can ultimately challenge someone else within their life to go after what they've always dreamed of, because the road is not easy. It's a long road. It's very challenging. And although, again, we see all those glimmers, it's a lot of bumps along the way.
Yeah, and a lot of learning. When you're creating something of your own or starting a business, I actually watched this guy on TikTok, and I'm sure he's gone quite viral. I think it's Amalfi Jets is what he does. And he's a broker for jets, and he talks about when he literally was on his last credit. He was so broke that he had almost no money, but he knew that it was something really big. And I think sometimes I feel that way about the podcast. I know we're doing something really good and really big, and we're on the urge of something great, and it's like we're not necessarily broke, but we do feel the pain in like our time sometimes when we put so much effort into this and you don't see the results. And I think there are people out there that probably put effort into something, they don't see the results, and then you want to just say, well, I give up. And you can't do that. You can't give up. You have to keep going. You have to keep fighting, and you have to believe in yourself. And I think that's the biggest part of why we do this podcast, is because we believe in ourselves, We believe in what we have to say, and we want to continue to say it.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I go back to after my college days, and we both did psychology in college, and when I graduated and was offered a sales position, I mean, I never ever thought that the psychology could kind of transfer over into sales, and I quickly did kind of get out of sales and went over to more recruiting, which kind of has that salesy side in it. But one big thing that my own boss and my manager saw in me was that I didn't have the confidence. And the confidence is something that actually truly held me back. And it was something that you don't often even notice. I mean, it goes to the things that we do in our life. I mean, you're scared to start drawing again, or you're scared to try skiing, or you're scared to try on those pair of pants that you've always dreamed of wearing. But you have to be confident enough to put yourself in those uncomfortable positions, because you never know what's on the other side of that. Mm-hmm. And the more that my managers continue to push me in that confident side, I realized, okay, I really can do this. And it's all about that mindset and what I'm truly fearful of. And I had to kind of dig a little bit deeper into my fears, and I haven't fully discovered everything yet, but it's allowed me to step into that business role. It's allowed me to step in this podcast role. Mm-hmm. And it wouldn't have been something I would have done 5 years ago. I mean, I think back to college and I'm like, why didn't my friends and I start doing TikToks or creating apparel or doing a podcast?
It wasn't big back then.
It wasn't, though.
It is now. I mean, it's crazy. You're like, I could have been a superstar.
Literally.
No, one of the things I wanted to ask you was, do you feel like your confidence has changed since starting, one, this podcast, and two, your own business?
Definitely so. I think it's a back and forth teeter-totter all the time. I think sometimes, again, I'm very hard on myself, so it's easy for me to kind of lose that confidence and kind of make those excuses for why I'm feeling the way that I am. But as soon as I realize what I'm doing and that I'm kind of beating myself under, yeah, I gain my confidence back. I gain this whole new introspective feeling of just, I can do this. Mm-hmm. I can create that one reel. Once I create that one reel, I can create 3 more. Once I put myself on my story, I can do it every single day. It doesn't happen like that, but
I agree.
Each time you do it, it becomes a little easier.
And I've watched you blossom. I mean, you truly have come out of your shell so much, and I love that about you. I hope that I've inspired a little bit of that.
Oh, absolutely.
I feel like just us together, we've blossomed our podcast into something great, which is why, if you're watching our podcast, we're working on rebranding. A lot of what we're trying to do is really get connected with our audience and make sure that our audience understands us. And I think that we want to show more behind the scenes. We want to show more, well, what are we doing and how are we getting our life together? And that's why we come on here and we're very raw and honest now about our lives. And we say, I haven't had the best day today, or I haven't had the best week, or I'm super stressed out about my wedding. But the reason we do this is because this helps us, I think, in our everyday life.
Honestly, this podcast to me is kind of like journaling. It's almost like I'm reflecting on all that's happened in the past, and now I'm needing the confidence to come on and share this with all of our listeners, with all the people, because like we both said, we want to be authentic, and we want people to know that not every day or 2 weeks is beautiful. You're going to have those little trials and errors in the road.
I agree. I'd love to start talking a little bit more about MoSmiles and where you've come with it. And I'd love you to share with the audience, you started at your cafe and you started selling your sweatshirts at your cafe, and now you've collaborated with one of your best friends on PJs, and now you are wholesaling in 2 other places. Am I correct? Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yes.
Tell us about that.
Oh my gosh, this kind of makes me a little nervous sharing this on here, but it's exciting at the same time. When I honestly, to go back to my full-time role at the cafe, back in September of 2023 is when I got hired. But I remember going into that first day feeling like it was probably one of the worst decisions I have ever made. I thought I was taking a huge step back in my life. And when I got into it, I mean, yes, it felt kind of like everyday work, but then I started to meet some amazing people along the way, both my manager, other coworkers, even customers. I mean, they even boosted my confidence knowing that I was put here for an absolute reason. And something in that cafe, they saw something in me and my business and started bringing in my sweatshirts, and I was so nervous. I remember the first day, I'm like, they're not going to sell, and I'm going to be so embarrassed if no one goes and purchases it. But, you know, several months later, we've now sold over 200 sweatshirts at Cafe 13. And that, of course, did boost my confidence to start to reach out to other people. And that, again, is a journey. I don't want anyone to think that, you know, you're going to get a yes here and a yes there and a yes, you know, that way. But keep putting yourself out there, because like Courtney said, it has led me to bigger places. I was able to collaborate with my best friend that I met my first day of chemistry class freshman year of college. She was someone that said, you know, that I inspired her to kind of go out and start her own journey. But now that we get to do it together is something that, oh my gosh, we didn't even talk about it in college. Now we're, you know, mid-20s and we're getting to create a whole new chapter of our lives. And this has now led me into getting back into my hometown, Bettendorf, Iowa, where someone I knew back in college, they now have opened up a boutique, and MoSmiles is sponsoring in there. And, you know, after this really hard week, I didn't think there was going to be any light at the end of the tunnel. I was like, you know what? Scratch this week. It's a new week next week. But then I got a big dream client wholesale order, and I just dreams. It's just that confidence, that motivation, that desire to become more, and knowing that you're going to make a difference, and knowing that your work is going to pay off. Don't look at the numbers. Don't look at the sales. Don't look at the followers. Just look at what you're doing and believe in it.
Yes, I completely agree. And you know how you said you felt this almost like, I'm going to compare it to a storm. You feel this storm and you feel like you're caught in this storm and everything you're doing and and then all of a sudden, one of the beautiful things that happens after storm is there's a calm and the sun comes out. Sometimes there's a rainbow. And even though sometimes it feels like everything around you is destroyed, you see the beautiful rainbow and you can have that hope. And it's almost like, hey, you went through all this storm and you were like, oh my gosh, everything's a mess. It feels crazy. And then you came out on the other side with one of your dream clients. And so you have to remember that maybe when you're feeling that storm, I like to think, hey, there's something on the other side that's coming for me, and it's going to be good. And I know it's going to be good, and I believe it's going to be good.
Oh, definitely. And it takes a lot of mental strength to get there. I mean, just like it does with creating habits that you want to change in your life. We talk about that a lot here, in the sense of you know, wanting to lose weight for your own wedding. Right. And, you know, even you getting better at hiking or not hiking, but climbing. Yes. And then for myself to get better at skiing. I mean, we just bought new skis this year and I don't even ski blues yet.
That's okay. And you don't have to. And one of the biggest things that I found when losing weight is the first 3 months of me losing weight was all about breaking different habits. Yep. And breaking those habits in order to form better habits. But then I found that sometimes I picked up on other habits that maybe I thought were bad, and I caught myself, oh, well, I'm doomsday scrolling all day long. And I start thinking, these are all the things that I'm doing wrong. And I forget, well, here's all the things I'm doing right. So just remember, when you're going through these transformations in your life and you're changing, that sometimes it might look or feel like you're doing something really bad on one end. It might just be because you're not seeing the other perspective. You're not seeing, oh, well, I'm losing weight, so I must be doing something right. And start seeing what you are doing right, and start saying, before and after, I'm so proud of myself. I'm so happy. You know, I've been consistent with my weights. I've been consistent with my eating. I've been consistent with cutting down alcohol. I've been so consistent, and I'm proud of myself. And in those moments, you have to be proud of yourself, or you are going to continue to fall back into those bad habits.
Yeah, and everyone's steps to get there looks very, very, very different. Mm-hmm. Everyone has their own personality, strengths, and goals that get them to where they are. And I want to go back to even business and talking about this, because I was talking to this girl the other day, and she was like, Morgan, there's different types of entrepreneurs, right? So that, you know, you can be a builder kind of entrepreneur. You can be a dreamer entrepreneur. And the way we function is so different. And sometimes being a builder entrepreneur, that might get you somewhere a little faster. You're someone that's focused more on the back end work. You know, you're more focused on the sales and the numbers and what's going to actually get you there. We're more of a dreamer personality. We might be a little bit more focused on the creativity and the cuteness and the sunshine and smiles to help us get there. But of course, you have to kind of take those turns, or be willing to take those turns, in order to kind of see those other perspectives. And so again, as you're building those different habits in life, be willing to take those turns in order to get there, like in order to break those bad habits, to build those new habits. Mm-hmm. You have to get really uncomfortable in different ways. multiple times in
I
order
agree.
to reach that success. Be patient.
I agree. Be patient with yourself. Love yourself. I hope you guys have gotten something out of today's podcast. I really feel good about today's podcast. I think we're starting to get more raw with you guys, and I hope that we gain more followers through this, through our authenticity and through, just our realness. And we love you guys. Anything you want to say before we wrap up?
No, guys, just stay tuned for a lot of new changes happening over on our Instagram, as well as probably TikTok, Facebook, wherever you can find us. We are going to be making some really, really cute and just exciting new things. So
Yeah. All right, guys.
we'll see you soon. Bye.
Bye. Yay.